A very good evening, a warm welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine, presented by Pick n Pay. Thank you for joining me wherever you are in the wine drinking world. And if it's in South Africa, well, a big virtual hug as we count off another day where we can't nip down to the shops, get down to Pick n Pay and restock the cellar. There is movement in the field. There are a few court cases going underway. There have been protests, which have been horribly dealt with in Cape Town in particular by a very tone-deaf leadership. But as always, we cross our fingers, look up to the wine gods, and hope that the industry has salvation on its horizon. Until that salvation arrives, we've got wine to drink, at least we do in this cellar. I hope you've still got a little wherever you are. And we've got wine to celebrate from what is not just one of South Africa's, but one of the world's most exciting wine producing regions. And it's wine that I received probably about 3-4 weeks ago, which means it's an absolute miracle that every single bottle is still with me. The temptation to polish off the lot was enormous, and you'll understand this when I tell you that the region in question is the Swartland, and that the delivery arrived thanks to a good mate of mine down in the Swartland, a good mate I'm going to be talking to in just a moment, came from people like Eben Sadi and Adi Badenhorst and Jasper Wickens and David and Nadia and City on a Hill and the Molyneux, and basically just the very best of Swartland, which makes it by definition some of the very best in the world. And so today we kick off over the next 3 weeks. We have 6 live shows embracing the wines of the Swartland, a long overdue tribute to the triumph that is Swartland and the wine that they make that doesn't just dazzle South Africa, but is increasingly having an impact right around the world. And so today we will get underway with 2 fabulous winemakers. One used to be the right-hand man of Adi Badenhorst. He's now making some incredibly exciting wine on his own. The other is one of the cool guys of the Swartland. They're all pretty cool, but I think he takes it to another level, and he's helped me put everything together. And I'm going to be joining him in just a moment. Before I do that, though, 2 quick commercial breaks. The first of those, you can't get down to Pick n Pay to buy wine. You can get non-alcoholic wine, and you would have seen the Van Louveren that we had last week. You can also, though, get yourself one of these. These are the Springbok World Cup victory masks, the 1995 World Cup victory, celebrating, as you can see there, 25 years. And then also paying tribute to the 2007 and the 2019 winning team. So why do you want to buy these? Well, not only does everybody need masks, not only do they look really cool and allow you to show the world just which rugby team you support, which, if you're watching this from New Zealand or from England, is South Africa. But also, the money going from the proceeds of these goes to one of my favorite charities, the Chris Berger Petra Jackson Players Fund. They do remarkable work with people who've been severely injured, many of them ending up in wheelchairs or with really lasting injury. And they do just a terrific job in helping those guys out. And if you've ever met anybody who is looked after, any of the beneficiaries of the Players Fund, you might expect them to be fairly bitter, fairly cross, fairly rugby-hating types. I've never met more rugby-positive people. They're extraordinary tributes to the game of rugby, and you're helping them by helping the Players Fund by buying one of these masks. So that's one of the things you need to buy. The other one is a copy of this, and this is brand new. It is hot off the press. This is The Many Adventures of Walter West, and this one to the moon with Walter, and the author Ronaldo Silvestri, Lawrence Sparks doing some terrific illustrations. Really cool. So if you've got young kids, you know people who've got young kids, or you just want a nice addition to your library of something proudly South African, drop me a note. They've only got the initial run so far, but I can put you in touch with Ronaldo and get you a few copies. So that is books and that is masks out the way. Let's move on to the important business of wine. A little later in the show, Jasper Wickens joins us as we talk through his Semillon Gris. You don't get much of it in South Africa, but what you do get, especially when it's made by Jasper, is pretty awesome. And also his Torrego Nacional. But we start off with a man who I first met at the Cape Town Festival of Beer, which is not what you'd normally expect to meet a winemaker. But there he was, and he wasn't selling wine. He wasn't selling beer either. He has this ancient steam engine of a meat smoker. And there he was, smoking all manner of cuts, slow cooked to perfection, dishing them up and selling them as a food stall at the Festival of Beer, which I think was just a ruse to get down to the Festival of Beer for 3 days and enjoy some great South African beer. But when he is not selling meat at beer festivals, Callie Louw has got one of the finest wines in South Africa. Not often you find someone who only makes one wine, but when you make it this well, you can understand why. We've had it on the show before, drinking it with Greg Sherwood, who baths in the stuff. It's that good. The wine is Porseleinberg. The man is Callie Louw, and he's with us this evening. Callie, how are you?
Are you done?
I'm extremely well, and I have to apologize because it's taken me long enough to get you onto the show. We did have to get your fax machine connected up to a Nokia 3210 to get you online, but we have at last, and it's lovely to see you at a busy time. Give us a quick update. You've been bottling furiously.
Yeah, we actually busy bottling the 10th vintage of Porseleinberg, the 2019 vintage. Started with a bit of a mare of a start this morning. Everything breaks. The bottling machine only runs once a year, so every year it's a sort of a new startup of the thing. But other than that, we flat out in the vineyards. We've got a lot of pruning to do. So a nice busy time. Yeah. Sort of keeping busy, not thinking about all this drama and stuff unfolding now.
Your distraction from that drama, and there's plenty of it, is a wine that's gained near mythological status. There are many people who don't believe it actually exists other than in pictures on the internet, because it is as easy to find as a South African Cricket World Cup victory. Tell us the story about Porseleinberg, how it fits in with Buchenholzkloof, and why there's just the one wine.
The main reason for the farms is to produce, that was from the beginning, was to produce grapes for Buchenholzkloof. Buchenholzkloof was a net buyer of grapes for especially the Buchenholz Syrah and the chocolate block. And we started in 2009. I was contacted by Mark Kent after we met at a couple of wine tastings in the UK the preceding years. And they bought in 2009. I joined in June and started planting. The original plan was 40 hectares. About 3 years down the road, we were offered 2 more sections bordering the farm, and we bought those, planted them up, and then 2014 bought another farm on the Rivix River Road next to the Mullinews. So now we're up to a healthy about 130 hectares total, which should look after pretty much all our needs in terms of grape production. And yeah, I think the owners, Mark and Tim, they just realized that it's just, you need to control your grape source. You need to be in control of everything if you want to ultimately do the best output in a very saturated market.
You make wine, or you provide the grapes for the Buchenholzkloof top tier. I know the Buchenholzkloof Syrah is seeing an increasing Swartland influence in its makeup. Where does that leave Porseleinberg? How does that fit into the greater picture? And how did that particular brand come about?
Well, I am a trained winemaker. I did realize quite a few years ago that being more active in the vineyard it's just the only way for me. I really enjoy being outside, being on the tractor, less so now, but just enjoying the whole process. So we basically, there was a small cellar on the farm when we bought the property, and then I got a couple of tanks from Buchenholz, and we just started in 2010. There was an old vineyard on the farm, and this vineyard was basically, I think, the reason for this whole venture. And me and Artie actually worked with some of these grapes at Rustenburg in the early 2000s. It was always quite a mystical place. The place was a shiny rock and very small grapes and very small berries. And then since 2010, just been mucking around during the harvest, making this wine, and it is made in a completely sort of very hands-off very old school way, because it was a new sort of, not really a new one. It was just it had no track record, so I could start with a completely clean slate. So just going back to the really old ways of producing the syrah, with whole bunches and then aged in bigger barrels, retain a bit of freshness, and yeah, it's just been such a cool journey. It sort of grew and it's become really sought after, which is yeah, it's pretty cool ride.
We're going to taste it in just a moment, and I'm raring to go because it's sitting beside me and it's smiling at me alluringly. Before we do taste it, though, quick question from Emile Joubert, who's got a very, very important question to ask you that he sent through via our Facebook feed. Emile would like to know, do former Grey College pupils have to apply for special permits to leave the mealie farms and take up winemaking?
We leave after the curfew. We left during the curfew between 9 and 4. You've got to get out of the Free State.
It does raise an interesting question, though. How did you get into wine? What was your journey?
I started BSc, trying to get into medicine, and then I didn't turn out to be the student I thought I was, and the farm was the next best thing. And we were driving, my dad and I, on the way to the beach house in Kleinmond, and the last wine farm on the left, I think, is Wilderness or Wilderness or something like that. And he's like, "Oh, what about viticulture and enology?" Sounds cool. And that's it. That's basically it.
There are obviously some rustic Free State roots in you, though, as I've seen at Martin Tucker's Cape Town Festival of Beer. The smoking, the love of meat, the sideline is clearly another passion, and one that you squeeze in between making brilliant wine.
Yeah, I know, it's a lot of fun, eh? Staying busy on the weekend also keeps you out of trouble, and I've just been a bit of a hustler since I had a tuck shop in my cupboard when I was in Standard 2. I was forced to close that because the school tuck shop wasn't making any money. Standard 6, I was cutting hair. Standard 7 as well, and then Standard 9, I made toasted sandwiches. Just after prep and before going to bed. After boys always hungry, and yeah, I just like to doing stuff. I like to sell stuff. So this smoking business is really nice. Yeah, and it's paid for a few surf trips and so on. So it's definitely worth the weekend.
Oh, there might be a sense of a hustle and side business to the smoking. There's nothing of that to the wine. It's a premier role you have in making this Porseleinberg. It is an exceptional wine, and I don't need to tell you that. You've had critics all over the world say exactly that. But talk us through what for you makes it so striking, what allows it to have become consistently year in, year out, a wine that is in such immense demand.
I think the approach, not trying to change anything, believing in the grapes, and letting the vintage and the site, because it is a super special site. I mean, it's given me a lot of heartache, but I think we sort of at a stage now where we see the trouble coming and we can make plans. So I think it's just you can really sort of you can see the different vintages and you can feel the power and the site. That's what I think, and I think it's just sort of quite an honest wine. There's no hidden anything. It's just what you see is what you get. And it's also made in a pretty sort of age worthy style, which is I suppose you need to be patient. They are nice, young, but I think 10, 15 years down the line, that's also why we sell them in 12. So hopefully everybody buys 12 bottles and drink one every second or third year, and then you'll hit the window somewhere. But yeah, as I said earlier, it's been very fortunate that it's got the kind of attention that it's had. It's never, I don't know if I can say it, it's never really the intention was just to make something really cool and honest from a very special place, and it's gone well.
You're always both a very relaxed and a very blue collar sort. There's a wonderful humility to you, Callie, that runs through everything you do. Taking that into account, how surprised have you been at the cult status that this wine has achieved, and the fact that people like Greg Sherwood, running one of the top wine businesses in London, rates this as one of his favorite South Africans, and that people all over the world are clamoring to get a bottle of this Porseleinberg?
Oh, I don't really understand it. I mean, people drive to this place, and I'm always open. If I'm at the house and you want to come to taste the wine, I'm here. Just phone up ahead, otherwise you'll get properly lost. But yeah, I tell everybody that comes here, I wouldn't make this kind of effort to come to a place like this for a wine. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's completely humbling, and obviously being part of an amazing outfit like Swerwer has definitely given this thing a good nudge in the right direction, and it's really cool being involved in the grape productions for wines like the Swerwer, which is one of the benchmark Swerwers, and then obviously the chocolate block. I can just grow grapes chocolate block all day long.
It's a fabulous wine family to be part of. They benefit from having the grapes that you grow and having the relationship with you. I'm sure there are plenty of benefits that work the other way. One of them would be the marketing, the look and the feel. Would they have had a role in what Shane Dean points out quite rightly is absolutely beautiful packaging? His comment on Facebook. It is superb. Was that a little bit of help from Team Bokenhoutskloof?
I'll see if I can unplug this computer. I'll show you where it all happens. So this is the first time. So this is in my office.
This is live cutting-edge television coming to you from the Swartland on a Commodore 64.
So that's the letterpress that I do every single label on.
So this is all you. You put all that together yourself, Callie?
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously the graphic design and stuff like that is not in my quiver or in my bag of spanners. I like to drive a tractor and stuff. No, it was a nice outfit in Stellenbosch. A couple of young punks that did this, one of their first jobs, and hell of a success. I mean, since the first day that we print this label, I just love it. I think it's one of the coolest wine labels in the world.
It's fabulous. It is almost as striking as the wine you find inside of the bottle, and wine that people are desperate to get hold of. Question from Jürgen Kirschbaumer: when is the next release?
As soon as the president allows me to. Yeah, no. This lockdown has tied our hands. We can't even bootleg. It's not even. It's just a mess. But anyway, so yeah, we just the last couple of cases of 17, and then 2018 will be released shortly, maybe spring day. But yeah, there's some really scary rumors, which I try not to listen to, about when this whole business will be over. So fuck knows, sorry, but I have no idea.
Well, think of all the brilliant bottle aging that the wine is getting as it waits to find its way to eager customers, of whom Jürgen is one. We're ready too, he says excitedly. I think the whole country's ready for Callie's wine, for anybody's wine right now. Callie, just before we bring in a compatriot of yours from Swartland, just one final question on the Swartland area as a whole. You've been a leading light in producing it. I did a piece with Ian Nodir that'll be on Dan Really Likes Wine tomorrow, talking about his role in the winemaking world and what a big role it has been. I mentioned the Swartland Revolution, but I then checked myself because I don't really feel it's a revolution anymore. I think you've gone past that. I think Swartland has now become so established. It's become more than just this little quirky niche in the winemaking landscape. It's become a part of the wine world that beyond South Africa, people are looking at, people are admiring, people are celebrating the wine of. Do you feel that's a fair reflection that Swartland has really started to find its feet, not just on a South African platform, but globally as a wine producing region?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think, and the nice thing is, I think the Swartland revolution may have just dragged everybody up. Right? I think everybody just got a really big wake-up call, and it's the best time in the world to be drinking South African wine right now. I don't think if you have 200, 300 rand in your pocket and you go and spend it now, and you take similar amount of money anywhere in the world, there's no fucking way that you're going to buy the same quality. It's an amazing time to drink. Not only Swartland, all of South Africa. There's a lot of quality.
It is indeed. We'll try and sidestep the natural progression of that conversation into, well, why can't we buy it at the moment? I think we share a fairly similar philosophy if we are in the wine drinking, the wine making, the wine producing, the wine commenting world. But when that lockdown ends, gee, there's some great stuff waiting and some fabulous deals to be had. Callie, we're not going to let you go away just yet. I want to bring in a mate of yours from just down the road. Jasper Wickens is the man behind the Swerwer range. I hope I've got that pronounced correctly. Used to be Ardie Badenhorst's lieutenant-in-chief and now making his own wine. He's got his own terrific story. But before we hear that story, let's say hello to Jasper, bring him in to join us. I think he's waiting patiently in our waiting room. Jasper, lovely to have you. I know you're about 4 bottles of wine down since we first got you online about half an hour ago. Lovely to have you on. I'm looking forward to tasting your wine, to chatting to you about your particular story. But before we do that, I'd just like to get your thoughts on Callie Louw. Everybody knows him as this sort of bearded, chiseled GQ type winemaking sort behind Porseleinberg. What don't we know about Callie Louw? What are the deep, dark Swartland secrets that Callie would dearly love you not to mention on Dan Really Likes Wine?
Thanks, Dan, for having me. It's great to be on the show. Callie Louw is definitely one of the characters out here. He's definitely one of our one of the guys we look up to in a way, but he keeps us young punks in check in a way. You know, there was always a lot of happening, a lot of events around the Swartland in the off season. We were about to have our annual Boerewors competition at Callie's place, and that's one of the places where he normally gets to put his foot down and sort the young punks out a bit. There's a lot of stories, and Callie will tell you when the old bucks get nervous about the young ones, he just establishes the ground again. So there were a few wrestling matches and stuff like that at his place in the mud, but it's all in good fun. It's fantastic, guys. Super guy, Callie.
Okay. Callie did make us promise not to tell a story about Callie Louw, the jacuzzi, and the 3 Swedish air hostesses. So we'll keep them for another time. Callie, before we go, the young buck we have here with us, Jasper, already making waves in what's still a pretty young winemaking career. What makes this young winemaker so special? And give us 1 or 2 deep, dark secrets about Jasper.
We keep our secrets to ourselves. You'll have to come to a party to experience or be part of our secrets. So we're not going to divulge any information. But Jasper is just one of almost a rugby team of young winemakers, young wine growers in the Swartland that are just amazing energy, really cool guys. They answer your telephone calls. It's fun to see the young oaks come up, and especially somebody like Jasper working with Ardie, who is also very much a mentor for me. If this is the future, then we're in good hands.
Well, you couldn't ask for a better endorsement than that, Jasper. I suspect you might have written it just in case beforehand. But a terrific one. Callie Louw, thank you so much, not just for being part of the show and providing some splendid Porseleinberg. That's Jasper's mother wanting to find out exactly what Callie's been saying about him. That Porseleinberg is a cracking tribute to South African Syrah and South African wine. So thank you for it. Also, thank you for all your support in the Swartland to Dan Really Likes Wine. And we'll be down to see you and your smoker on the farm as soon as we can. But for now, keep strong, keep bottling, and fingers crossed you're getting some wine onto shelves before too long.
Nope.
So there we go. Callie Louw joining us from the Swartland. He's a really special guy, isn't he, Jasper? He's so down to earth. You'd never know that he was the guy who makes this wine that wine merchants in London are fighting over allocations for.
Yeah, no, he's an amazing guy. He always keeps it real, you know. It doesn't matter where he is. Callie is Callie. He brings his whole personality to the table always, and yeah, no, it's fantastic to know him and to work closely with him. Super neighbor to have.
He's also a very discreet neighbor, refusing to divulge any secrets. As Heidi van Veek says, what happens in the Swartland stays in the Swartland. He's got many fans, Callie. So do you, Jasper. I see Martin Lamprecht leading the charge. Martin is very excited to see you on the show. That's 5 exclamation marks. My four that's a new record for Dan Really Likes Wine. So thank you, Martin. Maros, we need to have you on the show as well. I'll get in touch via Meridian. We need to get you on. Your wine story as well, really exciting. You worked a lot with Ardi, but then this move into having your own wine, Jasper. Am I right in thinking that it was largely an attempt to make some wine on the sideline, or you were still with Ardi to try and impress your girlfriend?
Yeah, I see you've done your homework, Dan. No, you know, I actually started making wine in the Swartland when Ardi started in 2009, basically, and I think, you know, being in this creative space and this creative environment, you know, it's basically the next step is to start experimenting and trying your own thing, you know. So I made wine every year basically of working for Ardi, but it's only in 2011 when I really started actually putting more in bottle, and I had so much that I can't just drink it out myself or with my family and friends. So then I started a label. So the Swerwer brand has been going since 2012. And while I was busy with Ardi, over the years, we started renovating a cellar. Actually, I met Francisca, and yeah, I don't know if there was some impression made or whatnot. I actually started learning her story as well. So it was, you know, stars aligned in a bit, and you know, I found out about the amazing job she's doing up in the valley. And I started, we started thinking, obviously, of renovating an old cellar on her farm as well. So this basically happened around 2018. And in that year, I kind of moved my production over into my own cellar. And yeah, before I know it, you know, I was sweeping my own floors. But it's a fantastic journey. I mean, 10 years with Ardi has taught me so much. And yeah, now it's really great to be on my own feet and doing my own thing, and yeah, give the expression of this place.
I was going to ask you about Ardi, because if you could pick somebody to have served as mentor and guide, and not just wine teacher, but life teacher, you'd struggle to find someone better than Ardi for that particular role. No,
you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, it's almost in the cellar with Ardi. It's the wine is. You know, it's always there in the background, but it's more about, yeah, he's a real mentor. You learn so much about yourself and about life and about other things, and it was a whole road of discovery almost for myself. And you start figuring out, actually, you know, who you are and what kind of direction you want to go in and what kind of person you want to be. Almost, when I started with him, I was freshly almost out of varsity, and you've got your ideas, but over here in the Swartland, you kind of develop into more of a into something else, I guess. But it's it's been a fun ride, and I owe it all to Artie. Everything I know, and how to express yourself, and all of these things. It's all packaged in a way, and it also gives you the confidence, to step into the world of wine and stand behind your own brand. So I'm very, very happy to be part of that history.
We're going to sample 2 of the wines that have been made by you, but inspired in part by Artie in just a second. Before we do that, quick question. We've got a lot of people watching. William Soter is one of those people. He'd like to know, do you use concrete as extensively as Artie? And I presume he's referring to the wine as opposed to the renovations of your house and cellar.
Yeah, look, the concrete tanks in my cellar was unfortunately already knocked out in the 1940s. It's one of the older cellars in the Porseleinberg. Most of them were built around the turn of the century, basically. And when my wife's grandfather came here in the 1940s, it was already not being used anymore as a cellar, and they just use it for a packing shed. So the concrete tanks are there, but they are not, unfortunately. They were broken up. So at the moment I use large food trays, old wood, and Well, it doesn't mean I won't turn to concrete again. I mean the new school concrete. When I can afford it, I guess I'll get something like that. But yeah.
Well, affording it will come through selling lots of wine. Selling lots of wine requires the wine to be of a quality that people wish to drink. So let's have a crack at the first of these 2. And I'm really interested in the wines that you opted to send my way. The first of this, I was reading a piece by Callie Louw, the terrific wine writer who is currently obsessed with Semillon Gris, particularly in her case in Frangic, but I think generally. And it's not a wine we see a huge amount of. You've called it the Rooigroen Semillon. It's a varietal that is fairly rare, especially on its own right in South Africa. What prompted the move towards having a crack at this particular one?
Yeah, Dan, I thought, I'll throw the curveballs in right at the start, So, no, it's definitely the two wines, this and the Teruga Nacional, is definitely the odd ones, the different ones. And it's always fun, to talk about those. It's definitely the projects that I do really experiment with and get to learn about. And it's fun to do. The Semillon Gris, yeah, it's actually it was part of that process of learning what my wife is doing up in the valley. So it's basically a propagation that of Semillon Gris that she started with her father quite a while ago. It's almost 10 years ago. Semillon Gris is obviously a natural mutation, and you can find some red Semillon grapes in some of the oldest Semillon vineyards in South Africa. There's a few famous ones out there, like the Lynn vineyard, that's made famous by let's say by the highlights and guys like that. And it's basically a selection of that mutated material, and we propagated it and planted 2 young vineyards of this from our own vineyard. So it's I got to learn about this actually way a bit more down the line. And in 2017 was the first time that my wife said to me, Francisca said, listen, the 17 Rooigroen is coming online, and you better do something with it. So I had to start, from scratch to see what we're dealing with here. And it's basically experimentation that started back then. So I've put 4 vintages in bottle now. The 18 new tasting now is the second one in bottle. and the first one that I brought in under the Swerwer label. So yeah, it's in the vineyards and in the cellar as well. It's a journey of exploration and experimentation. So it's very fun to work with.
It's also a delight to drink. It's a slight challenge, though, to really put my finger on it. People might be thinking, well, it's a Semillon, so it's going to taste like a Semillon. There are elements of Semillon, but certainly as a whole, you're not going to drink this on a blind taste. Oh, this is Semillon, because it's something very different in very broad brush strokes, because we have a lot of people watching the show who are fairly early on in their wine journey. What are the characteristics, broadly speaking, for a Semillon Gris? What are we looking for? What are we finding?
Well, Dan, I think right from the start, I started experimenting with a little bit of skin contact because most of your flavors are situated in your skins. Right in 2017, I was actually when the first grapes were going to come off. One of the other winemakers that gets grapes from us, Stompie Meyer of Mother Rock, he had a taste through the vineyard, and he kind of said, like, Jasper, the stuff is ready, you must go, you must pick it, I'm going to pick it. And it was already like at 18 bricks or something stupid like that. And I said to him, Stompie, it's way too early, man. I mean, so the first wine, the 2017, ended up with like 11% alcohol and really fresh, and there was really not that much to it. And right from that start, I knew that I was going to have to experiment a bit with picking dates, with getting the wine in a little bit riper, or when the grapes are expressing a little bit more of its own fruit, and obviously experiment with skin contact. So it's really interesting how the different flavors starts expressing, how it starts expressing itself with a bit of skin contact. It goes from very like Semillon, like a normal Swartland style Semillon, to something completely different. I think the moment you start putting some skins pre-ferment or in ferment, you start developing definitely a little bit of a direction of flavors that's more orange in style. It's difficult to say, it evolves into, from, let's say, from yellow fruits up into orange fruit, like a more citrus drive, a little bit more the ginger expression, a little bit more, a little bit of spice coming through. But it's quite a challenging grape to work with. I always struggle. The things I struggle with is acidity. It's got low acidity. Now you're putting some skins with it as well, so. The pHs tend to be quite high, to get the technical here. The other thing that I struggle with is reduction. That's basically the wine gets super, super, super stinky once you take it away from its skins or the ferment starts accelerating. But luckily, after a few months in barrel and stuff, the reduction blows off and you get beautiful fruit expression. So I would say the fruits differ from a normal Semillon, definitely away from white and yellow stone fruits to more into a little bit of citrus notes. Some, I don't know how these things actually taste, but like mandarin, tangerine kind of direction. You get what I normally get. What I sometimes get is this expression of a sour fig and that we have, and it's quite interesting to hear other oaks' interpretation of the wine. I don't like telling people what they should and should not taste in a wine, and because everyone's palates are different. But it's definitely for me more into the yellow and orange fruit spectrum, and then you get super nice floral aromatic in it as well, like some potpourri notes, some ginger spice. The Japanese actually told me that there's a little bit of greenness from the Semillon that sometimes translates into a little bit of a green tea thing, but you have to kind of figure out what you're doing along the way, Yeah. It's a lot to talk about.
We all get our own. I think the word you were probably looking for as a good Swartlander is some nachi, which is in there. Nice South African name. Look, it's such an interesting wine. And interesting can often be a euphemism for, yeah, I don't really like this. In this case, interesting is no euphemism at all. It's a really fun wine to explore, and there are a lot of different dimensions to it. And if you're a white wine fan, it's not quite like any other grape you'll find, but it's all the better for it, I think. And I love the fact that you're producing it. I've really enjoyed it. So it's 1 from 1 for Jasper so far. You've got a second wine, Touriga Nacional. So a touch of Portugal coming in to the Swartland. I think the first Touriga Nacional I ever had in South Africa might have been Alice Verloren, if I had one, I think. But it's wine I've had from your broader part of the world before. The slightly drier climate, the nature of the Swartland. It's the type of grape that lends itself to that kind of space. And I suppose that's what encouraged you to have a go at it.
Yeah, look, I think Touriga Nacional is doing so well in the Swartland. It was actually a suggestion by Neil Pendock way back in 2007 or 2008 for something that we must try and plant. And it was actually by accident that I made the first 2018. I was still pretty much busy with in the middle of harvest at Artie's, and I had a phone call from my wife, and she said to me, "Listen, I've got 30 workers in the vineyard, and we're waiting for crates for one of the other guys, one of my good friends. And is there anything that we can harvest for you while we're waiting?" And if you know my wife, you know, you just say yes to her at that stage, because it's quite a stressful environment. And I said to her, "Okay, cool. What can you do?" And she said, "Well, we've got Touriga." And I said, "You know, well, give it a go. Let the Touriga come." And I didn't think too much about it in 2018. You know, I did pretty much what I do to all my wines: a little bit of whole bunch, a little, you know, easy extractions. I like to pronounce the fruit of the wine. I think that's quite important, you know, to get the character and the fruit it presents into the wine. And yeah, it's one of the vineyards that's every year in the middle of harvest, in the middle of the heat, a vineyard that really, really performs so well. The berries stay nice and taut. It's always like super crunchy. It's definitely not a subtle wine. There's always a lot of expression, a lot of aromatics in the Touriga. Super blessed with really good acidity as well for the Swartland. So yeah, after a few months in barrel, I started, you know, I took a second look at the Touriga, and I thought, wow, this is really something that could that we can work with. So I think in 2019 I really started, you know, pulling out all the stops, you know, started experimenting again with different picking dates, with different time on stems and skins and carbonic maceration and things like that. And so just to get a good look again at Touriga Nacional and what you can do with it. But for me, you know, it is something that's always super expressive. Definitely something that's typically Portuguese. You know, you get the same kind of direction of flavors with the Tinta Barroca, but definitely much more elegant and a little bit more, I think, easy in style than a Tinta. You definitely have a little bit of structure from the wine, but a nice density in the palate. But the fruits are all like super, let's say, into the blue and purple fruit spectrum. You know, you definitely get something different from it. And yeah, super, very, very, very cool to work with this as well. So happy with it.
I think it gets my Nando's accolade in that it's South Africans perfecting a Portuguese tradition. You've got that one 100%. Two lovely wines. Before we wrap up and we let you get back and make dinner, do the dishes, and then put in the foot massage, which it sounds like Mrs. Wickens has on her schedule most evenings. The fun you're having with wine at the moment is very, very evident. So too is the success that Swartland has had as a whole. I know these are very challenging times for our broader industry, as they are for the world as a whole. But if we look beyond that gloomy horizon to what may come after that, what are you thinking about over the next 5 years or so? Where would you like to take the brand? Where would you like to go personally as a winemaker?
Yeah, look, the Swerwer brand actually started before, you know, I got into my own space. So it's definitely, you know, growing the brand is first priority, and now that we're working with you know, I think the most important thing is the work on the farm and with the vineyards, and making the most of that, you know, of the farming. Luckily, my wife is on it. You know, we're working always to be more in the organic direction, and yeah, that's priority. And maybe in the future, you know, I'll bring out another maybe another label for the farm itself. You know, focusing a little bit on its strong points. You know, the old blocks of Senior, old blocks of Chenin Blanc, and you know, things like that. You know. But yeah, and most importantly, having fun along the way. So it's always a good place to be.
I think that smile has been in place since you first joined us on the show, which is always a good sign, particularly in these times. Jasper, thank you so much. Two really interesting, two very different wines, the Touriga Nacional and the Semillon Gris, the Roychon, still being made in modest numbers, but picking up not just in volume, but I think more importantly in acclaim as well, and more people starting to know what you're doing, starting to enjoy what you're doing, and starting to buy, taste, and share what you're doing, which is always the important part from a commercial perspective. So thank you for sharing them with us. Lovely to hear a little bit about your wine journey. I'm glad that trying to impress your then girlfriend has had such fantastic results. Now, of course, Mrs. Wickens. And yeah, good luck. We'll be watching the story continue to unfold. I'm sure there'll be more quirky wines, more different wines, and more excitement. And we look forward to tasting many more of them with you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Dan. It was great.
So there we go. Jasper Wickens having a huge amount of fun with wine and delivering some pretty awesome stuff with it. So completing today, this is part one of our trip to the Swartland. If all goes according to plan, it's going to be a 6-part journey, because we have got Swartland wine on Thursday, we've got Swartland wine next week and the week after, as Callie Louw brings together everybody in the Swartland with an internet connection and gets them on to Dan Really Likes Wine. Speaking of next week, well, we've got some more crackers. Whiteman and Sons will be joining us. They've got a red called The Hedge. In fact, I've got a bottle of it right here. You might not have seen it before, but you'll find out about it on Thursday. And that will be alongside another of the Swartland Titans, David and Nadia. David Sardi will be talking through a couple of his wines as well. I had the Aristargos over the weekend with Kate Sherry, the Belfast-based wine critic, and just another resounding endorsement of the Chenin-led South African white blend. So that is to look forward to on Thursday. David Sardi from David and Nadia, as well as Whiteman and Sons with The Hedge. Also look out during the course of tomorrow, Tuesday, a chance to find out about Ian Nadir as I talk to one of the winemaking greats in South Africa about his journey and his story, with a little help from Greg Sherwood, who is as much a wine historian as he is a wine lover, wine expert, and wine salesman. Also this week, remember to get down to Pick n Pay to try and pick up one of those masks if you can. Get a few of them in support of the Chris Berger Petra Jackson Players Fund. And there is the non-alcoholic wine available if you've completely run out of stock and you'd like to get something that approximates wine there or thereabouts. It's been great having you all on, and I'll leave with a fantastic comment from Steve McCallan, who sent one in from Belfast in Northern Ireland, city of my birth, to say that he's just ordered a case of the Porseleinberg 2017 in Belfast. Great marketing. Steve McCallan, enjoy it. It is a terrific wine. Your challenge will be whether to drink it now when it's drinking beautifully, as I discovered a little earlier this evening, or to hang on to it because it is only going to get better over the next 10, 15, probably 20 years. There is your challenge, or just buy more cases. Thank you for joining us. If you're around the world, please support South African wine. We need that support desperately with our industry still in lockdown. And I'll see you back again with our recorded episode tomorrow, dear Nadia, and back on Thursday, more of the Swartland with Whiteman and Sons and David and Nadia. Stay safe, drink South African wine. I'll see you Thursday. Cheers.